about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Well, I don't know if I'm disappointed in my pets or if I'm disappointed in myself for being so naive, but my pets today went after a little wild animal that was in our backyard, and what went from a simple little fluffy, little pet that kisses me and cuddles up in our bed and cuddles up with the kids. I mean, I saw them slaughter an animal, and I can't unsee that. So basically, I don't even think I'm going to let them kiss me again. And your pets, you're really not supposed to let them kiss you, on the face or mouth, but we let them do that because animals express their love differently. They always like to go to the groin or something like that. And you're like, no. We humans, we kiss each other. So my dogs have learned that if they want to show love, they come up and then they will kiss me. All right. Which I really don't want them to do, but I don't like them anywhere near a groin. So I think they've learned that, but now no way. I cannot have their mouths anywhere near me. So basically in the morning, I take them outside to go pee-pee. There's doggy doors. We have multiple doggy doors, and apparently they don't like to use them. They'd rather go pee-pee house. So I have to escort them red carpet-wise outside. So Snort is the first one out, and I take her to go pee-pee, and that's a whole traumatizing event in and of itself. I mean, in fact, sometimes early morning, I almost just wish they just peed in the house, because honestly, what I have to go through with them outside, where she sniffs around, and then she grabs a rock, and then she decides to eat a rock, and then she decides to stretch and do yoga, and I have to sit there and I gotta pee. And anyway, so while she's sniffing around and taking 20 minutes to find an area to go pee, there was a little bird that was on the kind of the decking near the pool. We have a small pool, and I didn't really see the bird. All I saw is Snort start to jump on this bird, and then you see feathers fly. So the bird starts to waddle off the little steps to the pool area away from Snort. So I start to get Snort out of there. I'm yelling at Snort. Of course, I'm waking the neighbors up because it's like 6 in the morning, whatever. I'm screaming at Snort. I'm having a difficult time chasing the dog because, remember, I just woke up, so I'm in pajamas. I'm not wearing a bra. So I did what I could, and I got Snort inside. And then I was going to go and take the bird. I thought it was a pigeon, but my husband later said, oh, that's a dove. I can't tell the difference, but it was just an innocent little doe-eyed little dove, little cute little bird. I don't think it was a baby. I think it was a grown-up. But I didn't want to touch the bird yet because you know that if you touch a baby bird, the mom doesn't want it. Now, the mom's like, well, you're now sullied and we can't touch you because you're now contaminated. So I wanted to get Snort inside, even though she still didn't pee-pee after that whole thing, and then address the bird. Well, while I was getting the other stupid dog inside the house, Ooze, who's supposed to be this Bichon, little fluffy, I couldn't hurt a flea, races full gallop and descends on this bird, feathers flying. And I'm in shock because this is my little puppy. But well, she's not a puppy now, but I'm like, Ooze, what are you doing? Okay, so now Snort's like, oh gosh, that's brutal. And I'm like, okay, you started this, stupid dog. And by the way, still nobody's gone pee-pee yet. Okay, which means I'm going to be coming home later and probably dealing with pee-pee house because they decided not to go. And so she just descends on the bird. And by the time I get there, again, it's really hard when you're not wearing a sports bra. By the time I get there, sadly, the bird's gone. And then my dog decides to eat the bird. And I'm like, wait a second. Okay, we have chow. Okay, we have, we feed. I'm like, you're that hungry? And she's overweight. She's not hungry. But she went in for the kill. So I yell at them. I get them both inside. I'm like, now I'm like really feeling bad because I probably should have gone after the dove and taken the dove away from the dog. But there was one dog. I felt I could handle the dog. I did handle the dog. Who knew that the other dog would run and finish the operation? And so then what really made it all worse is I'm inside, my husband wakes up, I'm watching the news and prepping for the show, and then Ooze decides I was going to have Cord take the carcass of the bird. Apparently the dog did it as a present for me. She brings it into the house and she gives it to me like, Mom, I did this for you. And I'm like, okay, you don't understand your mom at all. I mean, I've had Pete on the show. You don't understand your mom. I love animals. What are you doing? Okay, no. And now there's a bloody, half-eaten bird by my desk, by the doggy door, the said doggy door that they're supposed to be using that they don't. And she did it for me. No, thank you. I get Mother's Days coming up. Remember, we had one cat, Snow, would bring in lizards and throw them on my desk on Mother's Day. They really, really want to they want to adorn me with presents, but don't be killing other animals. Now, I'm a little nervous because we have cats, but with the cats, they're afraid of the cats. They go up to the cats and they kind of sniff and snort by the cats, and the cat's like, please. Yeah, I'm not scared of you. But they have the potential to kill. Meanwhile, there was a mouse in the house. This was a couple days ago. There was a mouse. And so my son said, let's get the dog on the mouse because they know, and didn't do anything. So I'm thinking they don't want to kill any animals. But with this, so my day is not going to go well because, I'm cleaning up whatever there's feathers like all over the place. I didn't realize a bird had that many feathers. I mean, wow. And then not to mention there's probably going to be pee-pee house. But if you don't think that your dogs can kill or bite, let me tell you something. They can. I can't tell you how many times in the ER, urgent care setting, or even now, I have patients that call up where they have a bite across the face or their nose or their eye or something because their innocent little fluffy attacked. Our animals are animals. They could be the most amazing pets. They could cuddle up. They could ask for rub tummy. They could snuggle. But they are animals. And my husband says he thinks that the Bichon, little fluffy, little poodle-looking thing, the Bichon was bred to be an attack dog. I'm like, are you flipping kidding me? This dog, it can barely even, really? So just keep your faces away from the pets. Try to keep any wild doves that are flying around your backyard. I think the dove might have been injured, and that's why it was on the ground, because it didn't fly away. But I can't look at my dogs the same again. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, my producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So for any of us who have ever been assaulted, there's multiple different types of assault. Sadly, I've, been able to experience a few different types, two of which happened by a doctor. And I was really upset about that because I could have stopped it, but I didn't know it was happening because I was a patient. I couldn't stop the other one either because I was in shock, but that's a different story for a different day. But assault by a doctor is so horrible. It shouldn't happen. That when you hear this doctor in Massachusetts who has, I guess, been previously indicted on charges of rape and assault, now facing 81 new counts, you're like, what the hell is going on? How does somebody make it through medical school? How does somebody get through the trials and tribulations, not to mention the thousands upon thousands of patient encounters without getting caught before they, commit their crime? But with somebody not picking up on that sort of behavior, that predator personality. Well, let me tell you, what happened in this case. This is Dr. Derek Todd, 52 years old, of Wayland, Massachusetts. He is now facing 81 new charges on as it pertains to rape and assault. He's a rheumatologist. Now, rheumatologists don't usually do pap smears and pelvic exams, but he formerly practiced at Brigham and Women's Hospital and the Faulkner Hospital in Boston. Suffolk County District Attorney Kevin Hayden said Tuesday that a grand jury indicted Todd on 81 new charges involving 22 victims aged 17 to 56. The charges included 21 counts of rape, 59 counts of indecent assault and battery, and 1 count of assault with intent to rape. They say, make no mistake, the allegations contained in these indictments outline serial sexual crimes that have little or no equivalent in the history of Suffolk County. Simply put, the scale of victimization, the magnitude of trauma left in the wake of these allegations is something we have never encountered. So the incidents allegedly occurred at Brigham and Women's Faulkner Hospital in Jamaica Plain, at the Hale Building of Brigham and Women's in Boston between 2017 and 2023. From what we understand, he would do pelvic exams on them. The patients ranged in age from 20 to 60. He conducted unnecessary and excessively prolonged pelvic and breast exams, performed procedures for which he lacked appropriate training or certification, and engaged in conduct that was outside the acceptable standards of medical care. He was accused of sexually assaulting patients between 2021 and 2023. This is according to WCVB, while acting as a rheumatologist and primary care physician at Charles River Medical Associates. Then in 2025, he pled not guilty to charges that he raped 2 women during medical exams. He denied the allegations in March, and now more people have come. In fact, they say more than 270 former patients are plaintiffs in a class action civil lawsuit that is moving forward against him. And in 2025, several of Todd's former patients called for Massachusetts lawmakers to pass a bill that would require trained chaperones to be offered for all sensitive medical exams unless a patient declines them. The women believed that if a chaperone was there, the chaperone could have protected them from the sexual violence, after they said they were tricked into giving their consent to undergo pelvic exams because Dr. Todd said they were medically necessary. So that's what happened to me. There was no chaperone. So in one of the cases, the doctor, I was there for, I had a kidney stone in the hospital, and I was really, really scared after having a kidney stone. So they told me to go and see this kidney doctor. And I don't want to give names, but I'm sure people might, be able to figure out who it is. So I have to be very, very careful because it was a very small community. It wasn't a urologist. And I was sent to this doctor that really I shouldn't have been sent to. I don't know why I was sent to this doctor. And he asked me to completely disrobe, gave me only what we call tray covers. So a tray cover is maybe an 8x14 piece of cloth for a tray. He gave me that. The nurse left the room, and then he started to examine and touch everything. And I didn't know, because I was only 19 years old, that this was inappropriate because I didn't go to doctors a lot. I mean, I remember going to a pediatrician for an ear infection every now and then, but I didn't know what it was supposed to entail. And I didn't know until I was in medical school, and one of the doctors was reviewing kidney stones and saying, so what else do you want to order on the patient? And then the students would shout out, well, you want to do this, you want to do a UA, you want to do a culture, you want to do a CT, you want to whatever. And then they go, okay, anything else? No? Good. And I go, oh, whoa, no, you didn't examine the breasts. You didn't do a vaginal exam. You didn't do a pelvic exam. You didn't examine a groin lymphadenopathy. What are you talking about? I go, that's what happened to me when I had a kidney stone. The doctor did that for me. And then the students are like, can you say assault? You weren't supposed to have that done. And I wasn't embarrassed because in class I would shout out things all the time. But I was thinking to myself, I was mad that he got away with it. And then there was another doctor that just decided they had to examine my breasts when it was a completely unrelated condition. And again, I was young. It was before medical school, so I didn't know. And, when that happens to you, not only are you dealing with the assault, that happened and, somebody got away with something. People will touch your boobs and, relationships and things like that. But somebody who really wasn't supposed to, that got away with it, you're like, they got away with it. And that's what gets me. They got away with it. And I can't get them back. Now, and I don't want to get them back because I don't want to get in trouble and whatever. I mean, so you eat it and you're like, well, I should have. And by the time I figured out, what happened, I felt that it was too far gone for me to press charges or do anything. Not to mention when you're a medical student, you trying to go after a doctor at the time, you thought that you could, get kicked out of medical school. So you just kind of sat quiet and you didn't want to relive it and you just tried to suppress it and not even think about it. But your patients that go through assault, they don't want to go to a doctor again. They don't want to get a medical exam again. So now they become victims again because who's going to check them for a melanoma? Who's going to examine their heart? And it takes years to regain the trust of another physician. And then I worked with a doctor who apparently in his office, this was later, he was arrested and everybody kind of knows about the story locally, but he was drugging his patients with ketamine and having sex with them. This is rare. Doctors are amazing people. I mean, they're very altruistic. They put their lives on the line to protect you. They expose themselves to HIV and tuberculosis and all sorts of things and viruses and COVID and all that to be there for you. But there's some individuals that really slip through the system. And these are disgusting sons of a gun. I mean, these are disgusting bastards. And it's frightening because now what's happening is patients are so scared and fearful that if a doctor says, I need to examine your heart, many of them are like, no, don't touch me. Or they just don't go. Even if they haven't been assaulted, they're like, I don't want that to happen to me. And now you're seeing, the population of doctors that aren't examining you. And when I hear patients say, my doctor has never examined my heart once, and I go, but you're on blood pressure medicine. Who's giving you your blood pressure medicine? Well, the doctor. But they aren't examining your heart? No. So there's this huge disconnect now where doctors are afraid they'll get accused of assault, the innocent ones. Patients are afraid they're going to get assaulted. And then you have the assaulted patients, and I think there's a lot of them. If I could get assaulted twice, I am sure that it happens so many more times than we know. And we're just trying to examine patients and get, so you definitely want to have somebody in the room with you. You want to have a chaperone. Now, that's another issue. Many patients are like, now I have to have an audience. It's hard enough for me to go through a procedure, but now there has to be an audience and somebody else. Listen, the chaperone is there to protect you. You do have a right to say you don't want somebody else in the room. You do have that right to say if you don't want other people there or medical students. You have a right to refuse that. But if at all you're in concern, it really helps having a chaperone there, and it makes you feel comfortable, and it just makes, the process, not to mention it helps the process go faster because the nurse is helping give, the instruments or whatever that's being done for the procedure. In fact, now with movies, they have, I forget what they call them, but they have, I think, intimacy coordinators where when there's a love scene being done, there's somebody there to ensure that assault doesn't happen, because even though they are touching boobies or doing things in the scene, they want to make sure that it's very choreographed and non-assaulting. So, we're working on it, but something like this is a big embarrassment to the medical community. And if he is found guilty, this guy better pay. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So all eyes were on Virginia yesterday as there was a vote to change the districts from a 6-5 ratio of Democratic to Republican now is a 10-1 ratio of Democrats to Republican. And when you see the votes, it passed by a narrow margin, 1.574 million to 1.486 million yes to no. And people voting no on changing their districts was most of the state, most of the rural areas. It was a resoundingly geographical no, hell no. But early voting, in fact, the numbers of the people going to the polls, the election day votes, majority were no, 53 to 47% were no. Early in-person votes, which took 35%, were 53 to 47 yes. And then mail-in ballots, there were about 300,000 mail-in ballots that were resoundingly yes, 73% to 27%. So obviously that's kind of raising some concerns. But this redistricting, when you see the majority of the state in their rural areas are like, no, we don't want this. But it passes. It's now leaving a lot of questions as to, how this can happen. Well, the Democrats are saying, well, this started because the redistricting in Texas. Texas says this starts, this started because of Illinois gerrymandering and other gerrymandering efforts. So this has been a back and forth. And I'm not a big fan of, I understand why there's redistricting because there's different population shifts, etc. But I think it really should be up to the voters and not the way this was written. Should Virginia have a way to redistrict? This is, look, you live in this county and This county belongs to District 1 or District 4. Do you want the county changed to a different district? Yes or no? I mean, I think, and if there's in that county a resounding no, then it doesn't happen for that county. I mean, you have to be able to have, some sort of, but when you look at what happened to it was just obvious what they did. And it really limits a lot of people's ability to have a voice. One thing that California Republicans have been very upset about is that they don't have a voice ever in California. And it's we don't want single party rule. When you see single party rule on either side, people are frustrated. They don't, things don't happen well. And as you see what's going on in California. So going back to Virginia, the General Assembly, according to ABC 13 News, voted in early January to place a constitutional amendment on the ballot. And questions quickly emerged whether that process was legal. A bunch of lawsuits have been filed. And in fact, it even went up to the Supreme Court. So it's gone up to the Supreme Court. There's 3 major cases now. The first lawsuit was filed in January in Tazewell County by the Republican National Committee, arguing the process used to place the amendment on the ballot was illegal. A circuit court judge ruled in favor of that challenge, but Democrats appealed, so the Virginia Supreme Court allowed the referendum to proceed while it reviews the case. What the Virginia Supreme Court, basically their attitude was, and understandable, they were like, look, we can't stop a process for people to vote and let the people vote. But then we could always reverse it. Now, I know some people are like, well, wait a second. If the vote wasn't ever legal, then the process can't. I mean, you can't vote. Well, let's all kill animals. You can't. There are allowed to be rules and all that. But the Virginia Supreme Court said, we still are reviewing the case. We're not going to have an answer yet. Let it move forward, and then we'll deal with it. So that's not looking very positive for the Republicans. Second lawsuit filed in February by U.S. Reps Morgan Griffith and Ben Klein, along with Republican committees, also originated in Tazewell County. The case challenges the wording of the ballot question, arguing it's misleading. A lower court did rule in favor of the plaintiffs, but the state's high court has allowed the vote to move forward while withholding a final decision. And then ABC 13 News says a third similar lawsuit filed in Richmond by U.S. Representative John McGuire and others also target the ballot language. ABC 13's Allison Mullett asked the questions that remain: what would happen if the court ultimately rules against? If the amendment passes tomorrow, then the Supreme Court has to make the decision that the process in which a legislature went about it was illegal. What happens then with the result of an election? If they do go forward and say the process was not legal, it would overturn the vote. They would say it was an illegal referendum. It wasn't presented to the public properly, and therefore redistricting would not go forward. Now, if they do say it goes forward, then the midterms are coming up, and the Virginia Supreme Court has to be a little expeditious, because with the midterms coming up, they want to, be able to, shall we say, address this, or Democrats want to use it right away. Let me see what the wording was. Should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after the 2030 census? So this is the ballot question and the verbiage. So one issue I see with the verbiage is they're suggesting that the current redistricting is not fair. So there's an accusation there. They say, should they temporarily adopt these new districts to restore fairness? So they're alluding to a process that wasn't fair. Now, these ballot questions are very, very, shall we say, distracting. They're elusive. In fact, a lot of people in Nevada didn't know that they voted for third-term abortions in the last election because of the verbiage. They didn't read it, and that was, should women have the right, to abortion? A lot of people feel they should, but they didn't understand that within that, it now expands to late term, and I don't think it restricted to the life of the child or the life of the mother. So when with a lot of inconsistencies and confusion, people could be voting and not understanding. So when you read this, going, well, of course I want to restore fairness. I'm for fair elections. Well, is it really fair when it's 10-1? And where we're at. So our founding fathers were smart. Every state gets 2 Senate votes. Every state. And those senators, they cannot, nobody can manipulate within the state. Who votes for which senator. It's statewide. And that's very smart and it's very protective. As it pertains to your representative, you're supposed to be able to vote for your representative. And so there's these congressional districts. And rather than it being by county, a district will take over a certain amount of counties or space. And so you got multiple counties in one congressional district. And when you look at the way these things are drawn, it's pretty confusing. Like, I don't understand, why aren't they just even boxes? Well, the reason why is they're trying to equate the number of individuals so everybody has equal representation, so to speak. But then it allows that gerrymandering where they're able to, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to curve this, so then we'll be able to collect them. We'll just lump this all into one. So the Republicans get one district, but then everybody else can now we can make this, because of the majority rules, a Democratic district. And so, Vegas, if Nevada gerrymanders, what they might do is take, some of the congressional districts in Las Vegas, expand them to some of the more Republican areas that vote in Congressional District 2 and add them to the more metropolitan areas of Washoe County or Clark County, and then it can affect the numbers. And so, it's it'll be interesting. People say that this wasn't legal, that Virginia could fight it. Other people are saying, well, now Republicans have to go to all their other states and gerrymander. It's a mess. 1-877 Dr. Dolly.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. So Robert F. Kennedy is in the hot seat as it pertains to vaccines, and you're going to see a study or a report. We talked about this a few days ago, where the CDC is refusing to release a report blocking its publication, championing championing COVID vaccine. And we spoke a little bit about this. Apparently, there is a report showing that the COVID vaccine, I think it was a March 19th edition of Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, that the COVID shot played an important role in reducing ER visits at hospitals last winter. And so they said that those who received the vaccine between September and December 2025 cut the risk of urgent care and emergency room visits by 50% and the risk of COVID-related hospitalizations by 55% compared to adults who did not receive a dose. But apparently, what the Independent is reporting and many liberal media outlets are reporting is that the study missed its original publication deadline because it was blocked by the HHS. Now, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya is overseeing the CDC, and he had concerns about the methodology of the study, despite it having passed the agency's scientific review process. So the Department of Health and Human Services spokesperson told the Independent that it is routine for CDC leadership to review and flag concerns. They're not wrong about that. You do have to look at the study. Prior to publication of such reports, Dr. Bhattacharya had raised some issues which are being addressed to make sure that the paper uses the most appropriate methodology for such a study. Now, apparently, I don't know if this is the Washington Post or the New York Post, it just says the Post, now cites sources saying it will not be published at all. So people are accusing or suspecting that this is because of a conspiracy, an anti-vaccine conspiracy. My concern as a physician, having seen publications not make it to fruition because of faulty methodology, sadly, you may see, unfortunately, politics, come into play. But unfortunately, there's more methodology issues than we see politics issues as it pertains to publications. So just at the outset, from the statement from the Independent, and I understand they're summarizing the study, but they said that the urgent care visits went down because of COVID vaccines. Now, that's fantastic, and there is a way to quantify that, but there's not a way, though, to ensure that the reasoning and the causal relationship of that. So telemedicine has exploded over the last few years, even more so. And now many of you, when you get your insurance card, are told to go to a telemedicine company. So the number of individuals using telemedicine in 2025 is far greater than 2024, 2023. So more and more people are using it. It's fun. It's fantastic. It's great. It's easy. I still think you need an exam in person. I still recommend people don't, skip out on their physicals and exams. But when patients are calling up, we had 2 patients yesterday call in with COVID in an hour. I mean, I wasn't logged on the whole day. So are they going to the urgent care or are they calling telemedicine? So if you're going to base a vaccine effectiveness on walk-in urgent care visits, your methodology is going to be flawed if you don't account for the fact that a lot of these people may be just going telemedicine. So saying the numbers went down, well, the numbers are going down, going to urgent cares anyway. I mean, there's still, urgent cares are still busy. But in terms of people going, you know what? I tested positive at my house. Now that people are doing home testing, right? I've tested positive at my house. I'm going to get my days off. I'm going to get whatever I need online. I'll call online. They never show up at the urgent care. So how do you know about their numbers and how do you know the vaccination status? Now, one thing that is more easier to follow are your ER or your hospitalizations. Your hospitalizations, you can't fake that. And you can't also attribute that to a telemedicine visit at home, because if somebody ends up in the hospital, they're going to end up in the hospital. Somebody's going to call 911 or they're going to die at home. So we're going to have the data of somebody dying or somebody going to the hospital. Now, according to the Independent, the study said it decreased their risk of COVID-related hospitalizations by 55%. Now, that's a fantastic number, and it is a number that you can validate. But what could the CDC be finding an issue with? And I would actually like if the CDC, being that you're having all these articles saying that the HHS is trying to be anti-vax, etc. What was the issue with the hospitalization? Were these, if somebody wasn't vaccinated for COVID and ended up in the hospitalization, they are saying, if you look at the wording, COVID-related hospitalizations. Does that mean, and I'm no lawyer, but does that say COVID caused? Or did somebody have pneumonia, flu, and COVID? Did somebody have a heart attack and coincidentally recently had COVID? So now we're going back to the same issue we had in 2020 where, what are the numbers? Are you saying this person was healthy, going about their merry way, got COVID, and then became sick? And I got to tell you, COVID kicked my butt. I mean, COVID was deadly. Or are these quote-unquote COVID-related hospitalizations, are they truly COVID-related? Did somebody have COVID 3-4 weeks ago? And now they're in the hospital for something, but their antibodies are still positive. Still, COVID could affect the heart, could cause stroke, etc. But have we excluded out all the other causes? So that could be what the issue is. Again, I haven't, seen the study. It's not out for publication. And so people are saying, well, the study's looking really, really good. I really do believe, personally, that the COVID vaccine can reduce hospitalizations, because when I got the COVID vaccine, I didn't get COVID that year. And COVID was at the time a nasty, nasty beast. Now that we've gained not only artificial immunity, but natural immunity to it, for those of us who had it naturally as well, I think, the strain is weakening and we're building up our immune system. Even if the immunity wanes over time, we're still getting some baseline immunity. But I do believe that the vaccine can help. And that's why I do support vaccinating vulnerable individuals. I don't support mandating it and forcing every 6-month-old to get it if parents are concerned that they already are getting so many vaccines. But if that child's at high risk, they should get the vaccine. So I'm still pro-vaccine, but I also want to make sure that these studies are done correctly. Saying, look at all the hospitalizations it reduced from COVID-related. Well, did we really, are we sure the vaccine kept that person out of the hospital? What exactly were the other medical conditions that person had? Are you looking at healthy people that got the vaccine, 20, 30-year-olds that didn't end up in the hospital, but the ones that ended up in the hospitals are 60, 70, 80-year-olds with comorbidities? What was it we have to look at the methodology. And if something in the methodology is flawed, it doesn't get published. I know I've worked with countless medical students on their studies. And if their methodologies allow somebody to go, but wait a second, this doesn't sound right, you could get that result because of X, Y, and Z, or did you rule out this other reason, it won't get published. So I'm not shocked by that. Because again, it's the way it's worded. And again, I know this is a media outlet wording it, but saying urgent care visits down, I'd like to see how the methodology as it pertains to telemedicine visits. And because with telemedicine visits, people it might never get registered or reported. I think it used to be. But with telemedicine, if we can't prove you have COVID or you don't have COVID, I don't know if the CDC what they could do with that data. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.